first. So what is state and what is props? So the state is a updatable structure that is used to contain data or information about the component, and that can be changed over the time. Okay, but props are read only component. We can only read the props, but a state can be changed anytime over the time. Okay, and second thing, the state change in a state can happen as a response to user action or system event. Either user can change the state, the data and everything, or by the system event it can be happen. But it is an but we can say props. It is an object which store the value of the attribute of a tag and works similar to the HTML attribute. So it will not do anything to the user action or system event. Okay, the data you have, you can only display in the HTML attribute. So state is, it is a heart of the React component. Okay, so if anything happen, if you are have any issue in the data, it means your application is failing. Okay, because this is the heart of the React component. If the state is not working properly, means the heart of the application is failed. Okay, which determines the behavior of the component and how it will be rendered. So as I told you, like state is a heart of the React component, which determines the behavior of the component and how it will render. So it's all depends on the data and how we want to display the data, how we want to show the data on the application, on the forms, as well as the HTML component. So it's all depends on the data and the state of the data. Okay, so a state must be kept as similar as possible, and it represents the component's local state or information. Okay, so a state must be kept as simple as possible. Okay, and it represents the component's local state as, we can say, information also, or information. Okay, so simple things that, like we have to define state as simple as that, as well as we have to provide the action and the system event as possible as simple, because React is as simple as everything. Okay, so it can only be accessed and modified inside the component or by the component directly. So state can be accessed or modified inside the component as well as the component directly. So from anywhere we can access this. Okay, but in the case of props, it is not like that, because we have to use as a props read only component. We have to pass the data and we can display in the HTML component only. So it allows the passing data from one component to other components only. We can pass the data from one component to other component, but we cannot change that. So it is similar to the function argument and can be passed to the component the same way as argument passed in the function. As we pass the argument in the function, while calling we are passing the data. Similarly, we can do that. And props are still immutable, and so we cannot modify the props from the inside the component. As you told, we cannot change the value. It means props are immutable. We cannot modify the props from the inside the component. From the inside the component, you can do from outside the component, but you cannot. If you pass the data, it means it is only a read only component. We cannot modify this. Okay, I think you have now better understanding. So let's understand the difference first. So props are read only, where a state cannot be changed, and props are read only where a state can be asynchronous. We can say we can change anytime. Okay, props are immutable, state are mutable. Props allow you to pass data from one component to other component as an argument. But state holds information about the component. Okay, state holds information about the component too. Okay, so props can be accessed by the child component and the state cannot be accessed by the child component. Okay, props are used to communicate between component. So props, we will use props to communicate between the component, where a state can be used for rendering dynamic changes with the component. So a stateless component can have props, and a stateless component cannot have a state. Okay, so if we are writing any stateless component, means we are writing only props. But if you are writing a stateless component, so we cannot use the state, cannot have the state. So props make component reusable. Props make component reusable, but a state cannot make component reusable. So props are external and controlled by whether render the component, and a state is internal and controlled by the React component itself. So these are the big concept behind that. So now you have to understand that what is the difference. So we cannot change the props. It is only used for the passing to one component to another component, as well as props gives you benefit over we can make through the props we can make component reusable. This is the biggest advantage ever. And the third thing, we have the stateless component can have props, but in the stateless component cannot have state. Okay, and a state cannot make the component reusable. Okay, that's the biggest thing between both of the difference. So you have to understand. If you have any doubt, please ping me in the comment box. Okay, so the table will give you the guidance over the props and states. So can some conditions are there, can get initial value from the parent component in the props, yes, state as well. Yes, okay, we can get the initial value from the parent component as well as in the props and state, yes. So can be changed by parent component, yes, but in the state, no. In the props we can pass the data and we can change the data from the parent, but from the child we cannot do that. So that in the state we cannot do it. Okay, and can set default value inside component. We can set default value inside the component, yes. In both set we can define the default values. Okay, and can change inside component. In the component we cannot change the props, but in the state we can do that. Okay, as well as can set initial value for the child component in the props, yes, but in the state, no. Okay, sorry, what, can set initial value of the, can set initial value for the child component, yes, in the both cases. Okay, we can set the child value as well. Can change in the child component, yes, in both, no, only props side we can do that, in the components that we not do that. Yeah, she not cannot do that. Okay, that's it. And so a state and props are plain JavaScript object, and both can contain default values, as well as both are read only, and when they are using by these components. So in the next section we will see the hands-on, as well as we will start what is constructor. Okay, thank you guys.